as we move forward, Paul, obviously, we're going to just flip on to Philippians 1 now. So we've set our scene. We've got a feel of what's going on, what the people are thinking. And maybe, Simon, you would read there just from the start down to verse 11, and then that'll probably finish us off for this evening.
Yeah.
Once we've had a wee discussion.
Right, starting verse 1 then?
Yes, please.
Yes, to 11, okay. So, Paul and Timothy, the servants of Jesus Christ, to all the saints in Jesus Christ, which are at Philippi, with the bishops and deacons, grace be unto you, and peace from God our Father, and from the Lord Jesus Christ. I thank my God upon every remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine for you all, making request with joy, for your fellowship in the gospel from the first day until now, being confident of this very thing, that he which begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. Even as it is meet for me to think this of you all, because I have you in my heart, insomuch as both in my bonds and in the defence and confirmation of the gospel, you all are partakers of my grace. For God is my record, how greatly I long after you all in the bowels of Jesus Christ. And this I pray, that your love may abound yet more and more in knowledge and in all judgment, that ye may approve things that are excellent, and that ye may be sincere and without offence until the day of Christ, being filled with the fruits of righteousness, which are by Jesus Christ, unto the glory and praise of God. Amen.
Amen. And really, it's, we were kind of working out these letters. This letter was sent by Paul from Rome.
Mm-hmm.
He's in prison, and he's looking at this church in Philippi. You were saying, sir, this letter's a response.
Yes. So they were obviously Philippi. The church at Philippi that we just read about there, they had supported Paul quite significantly. Again, just looking at notes, you can look at yourself, but I believe when he was in Corinth and when he was somewhere else and was missionary, so 2 if not 3 times they had specifically sent money, sent financial aid and some other form of goods to him. So they were very much a giving church, and so they had heard of this situation he had got himself in and the fact that he was in prison. So they wanted to send more gifts to him, and so they sent them to him via Epaphroditus. And so, long story short, Epaphroditus gets there, and basically their plan is go and stay with him a while, make sure he has everything he needs. But when Epaphroditus is there, he gets sick. And then you have this weird thing, because then Paul is so concerned for the Philip, he loves him so much because they've sent him money, and now he's like, you've sent this guy, and now he's got sick. And actually, we'll probably read it but maybe the next day we'll come to it. But Paul specifically addresses he was sick, and my King James said, nigh on to death. So, I mean, Epaphroditus, he's not in a good way. So essentially, again, to wrap it up, Paul, he gets better sufficiently, and Paul says, look, I'd feel a lot better if you went back and you could just let them know that everything's okay. And that'd be probably a good place to pick up next time when he talks about, actually, even though I'm in prison, will you see all the things that has fallen out for the gospel because I'm in prison, which is just a great part of this book. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So Epaphroditus is there, he falls sick, but he gives Paul stuff, and now Paul sent Epaphroditus back, and he comes back with this letter to the church of Philippi. So that's pretty much it.
He's carrying the letter back.
Yep.
After bringing aid with him, and like Paul always comes across. I know some people are down on Paul, and again, but whenever he's coming writing a letter, like all these letters had to be taken, they had to be delivered. Each one of them is a work of love on behalf of the man himself. Yes, Holy Spirit inspired, but every one of them's an effort. Paul was obviously a great student of the Bible. He had a great knowledge, but he had a real heart for people. Like I'm terrible at replying the text messages, and some have sat in my phone. I actually cleared 20 missed messages today. Some were from O2, but other ones were from people, and they were just general things. But I never went back to reply. But people could wait in our reply for me for ages. But Paul was sincere, and his chat, and his responses, and that's where he's coming from. And like his first thing is thanksgiving and his prayer. Like, what do you think, Dave, there about even from verse 3 to 5? What do you see there?
Like he's thinking on all the times, like always in every prayer of mine for you all, making my prayer with joy. It's like when he thinks on the people of Philippi, it's like they bring him so much joy, and because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now. So like from the day of their conversion and the starting of the wee church, the fellowship of Philippi, knowing them and them growing and to this very day has bring them so much love and joy, and essentially I think that's what has would keep him going in prison. As
Absolutely.
prisons back in, they're not like the ones today. Holiday camp, but we'll not get into that. Pool tables and TVs and PlayStations, but
They were in a hole.
They were in a dark hole.
The only way I could imagine the prisons back in is when you look in some really sad places in the world where it's like open sewers. I just think like of an indoor open sewer chained. And that is what it is. Rats, that's the way not a lovely place, but for a man who can be within that and still so much joy and love for life and the world and for God, not be begrudging, not be angry of the situation or the things would have put him there. All I can think on is his brothers and sisters in Christ. And that's just what keeps him going, and I think it's just a testament to Paul, of all the letters he wrote, and he was, as you said before, it was so sincere, and if you can't see the love in the letters, you're blind. It's like it pours out love.
I think especially this one, and I know I've read a couple of notes on that this week that Paul, and you're right, Dave, in all of his letters, even when he's writing difficult ones, like just to throw an example, like Corinthians, crazy things going on in Corinth, but he always addressed them as saints. But as I was reading earlier about how his letter to the church of Philippi, Philippians, is probably the one letter where really he's not actually writing. He rarely has to address anything that they're doing. There's a few things, like a couple of ones I think, like between a couple of individuals, but he does not have to address any major theological thing. And actually, the theme of Philippians, I think if you've got a study Bible, and I know Gareth has one there, but I think the theme, one of the main themes it says here is joy, and that's right. You can, as you said, you can see that in how Paul speaks. You can see it in what he writes. And I think as you were talking there too, David, and you think of where Paul was, he truly was the servant man, because he's the man in prison, and yet he's the one giving thanks for them. It's essentially the money and the food or whatever other form of physical goods that they sent Paul that enabled them to go and do that, and yet it's ended up him in prison, and yet his first and primary thought is to give thanks and praise to God for them. And as I said, we'll look at it probably in the coming weeks, because he has great perspective, because he sees actually that for the gospel this is great. Like I'm quite happy to be in chains for the sake of the gospel. But it's just an amazing, I suppose, just can you imagine if one of us three, would we have swapped them out, if would we have swapped?
I don't think so.
I was like, no, you can stay there.
But even for like Epaphroditus to go to Rome, that kind of, I'm only thinking it out. I haven't spent a lot of time looking at it, but we were saying there whenever he was in Philippi, the Jews were thrown out of Rome. They were expelled. But what obviously being a Jew within that culture or a Christian, because at that time they nearly couldn't even tell the Roman people nearly couldn't tell the difference. You know, they seen them as people who worshipped God. But obviously them going into Rome wouldn't be a particularly, whenever they'd been expelled, obviously it wouldn't have been a cakewalk.
No, that's a good point.
It would have been the likes of Epaphroditus to volunteer to be chosen. He obviously went willingly. Was a great service. But again, it's just looking at that, like, even on, as you say, likes of some of the letters, likes of Corinthians or Ephesians, where there's, like, I'm thinking of Ephesians because he talks to husbands and wives and to children. Paul intimately cares about each aspect of these people's lives. He's not trying to authoritarianly direct them, you know, and he's just saying, hey, if you want to live for God, for your family, this is the way he lays down for it to be best. You know, and he writes that, yes, occasionally there's a correction, but it's to bring them, to err them from the side of error and bring them back and to go on, God's way. I shouldn't have finished that fish supper.
But I think, as you're just reading that first wee paragraph there at 3 to 11, like, you know, it is all praise and love it, you know, the joy's coming out of there, and as he says, and his letter to Corinthians, and he's really hammering them, and he's really hammering, but rightly so too, because and all these letters, you know, it's all to the early church in these places, and you have to, when you, like, even there, Peter and where he was, you know, they all start good, these early churches, great intentions, and then things like, and letter to the Corinthians, the immorality starts coming onto it, and then in other places like Peter's lot, when he goes to him, the old Jewish traditions start coming in, but the Philippians must, alright, I'm sure there was things that they could do better, but on a whole they're going in the right direction, and it must have given so much joy. It's like, there's one wee church group, but you know, they're trying their best, you know, and you know, you see the love in them whenever you're hearing about all these other young churches, say, right, I have to reprimand them, you know, I have to from this, let's just say, hell on earth, I have to set them straight again. And like, it all comes down to, I have to remember that those churches, and again, like ourselves, we're not in a godly culture. You know, and we could talk about that, about, you know, what's going on in the world within prejudice, or, you know, at the moment there's race going on, with Black Lives Matter and all that different stuff of, you know, it's all fueled with hate and negativity and oppression, and one side trying to level themselves above another, but it's Paul sums it up nicely, and it's always, like, it's verses commonly known, Romans 12, 1 and 2, appeal to you therefore, brothers, by the mercy of God, present your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that by testing you may discern the will of God, what is good, acceptable, and perfect. And he talks about that in here as well, that you, verse 10, you know, verse 9 and 10, so that you may abound more and more in knowledge and all discernment, so that you may approve what is excellent, be pure and blameless for the day of Christ. You know, he sees the world is always pressing a Christian, you know, and it's no different, you know, from now, and that's really where we're not here to give a historical lecture on Philippians. None of us are truly qualified on that regard. But you know, like, where the rubber meets the road, you know, the world's always pressing Christians. This is an encouraging letter for us, you know, that we may abound and know more of God, that we may see His love more and more, and then be able to see Christ and His will for us, and be able to push back against them all. Alistair Begg, which
as a
Common
person,
love for Alistair Begg here.
as a big fan. I'm a big fan of Alistair's. But he talks about being on a boat. The boat is on the water, but the water should not be in the boat. And if the water's in the boat, things are going terribly wrong. You're going down. But and I always like to think of that. We don't want to be squeezed into the mold. Not the world's trying to put us into just all be the same. And take, and we're to be countercultural, which isn't easy. But I think really that's a good place to end.
But just whenever you're saying that about the water in the boat and being in the world, but being of Christ, it said twice here. It said first in verse 6 and second in verse 10, and they both have sort of the same meaning. To completion at the day of Christ, and then it says blameless for the day of Christ. You have to remember, like we'd be saying that there'll be ones older than us and says Jesus is coming, and you think, is that a new thing just where the world things are happening in the world? But even back then, when Jesus died, they thought they were going to see him again in his lifetime. So
that's true.
So I think that's why when it says the day of Christ, the day of Christ is now, and it is now, but it has always been for them. So I remember hearing that one time, and then just when I see that there, just a reminder that even then they were waiting for Christ to come back. They didn't think, it's going to be in 2,000 years, 100 or 1,000 or 2,000. They thought he's coming back now. And it just shows you that Jesus, he didn't come back then, but he could come back now. You have to be in that mentality that Jesus could come back anytime. And
you gotta live with you gotta live with the reality, and even with the consciousness that almost it can come back. And you know what? If he does come back, I want to I want to be ready. I want to be ready, and I want to be doing as well. I think just as because Chuck Swindoll, who I'm sure many will know, American pastor as well. I think he's still pastoring anyway. But he said the same because Paul had issues. We're talking about issues. I think his issue with the church at Thessalonica was when they heard about the end times. Chuck Swindoll says they were basically all getting their guitar, cut up the hill and singing Kumbaya, like they just were packing in their jobs because they just thought, oh well, Jesus come back, and they were just. But that's clearly not how we're meant to live.
Not to be as naive as that,
No.
But we have to be anticipating it.
Yes.
We have to be living in like that, and sometimes that's difficult because we live in a world that's so busy. I think one of the things with lockdown is you've been able to slow down a little. The rat race doesn't seem to be as and busy, and you've been able to take stock. But once you get back into it and you're working, and well, I'm a teacher, I only work half the year, but
you're probably the only one that admits that.
One of the few. But there has to be one honest teacher in Northern Ireland. So we have, as we go forward, you have to be thinking about. You have to be thinking, right, I want to live my life for God. He's going to be coming back, as opposed to I'm going to be planning to do this tomorrow and this holiday there, and you just let everything get so much in front of that idea, and probably you can go days and maybe weeks without thinking, Lord Jesus is coming back. That's even as Christians, even reading your Bible, every day, that could still be a thought that unless it's right in the text, you're like, Jesus coming back.
I think you get involuntarily numb to some things. You hear that much and you read it and it's like, yeah, and then it's just like on to, it doesn't really, there's depths there that we don't really appreciate. But then sometimes you do realise, that's class, he'll be coming someday, and the clouds will spread and he'll come down there, you'll see everybody at the one time, and everybody will see him, and then, you have to sort of try and imagine that, but just because of day-to-day life, and life, as you say, is that busy. We're sometimes occupied so much that we don't give it enough thought or time.
Very true.
Should we move? Why don't we do even? I know this is on. Then what about like a closing comment on what we've took from tonight, or a closing comment, like literally a comment? As I say that because I know most things.
Because we've commented a lot. We could talk about. I think it's just, you know, I think, as you said, the overall thing here is it's a joyful letter. It's a letter of thanksgiving. You can read. You know, Paul didn't go. None of the churches Paul planted were easy. He's come back to places, and he actually left this place, well, after a beating, a hiding by the magistrates, and he was taken out, beaten with rods, it talks about, and then he left. You know, he didn't leave on the best terms with the city, but the people loved him, and he loved the people. And you see that even years later, there's that connection. You know, the church still feel a tie to the one who brought them the gospel, and support him the way that we should continue to support churches and missionaries as well. And that's what I'm taking from this.
I love the whole thing. I love the early stories too of the first converts, like Lydia, Philippian jailer, and there's the damsel, the possessed woman as well in there.
Yes.
Which is it's just really cool, and I never touch on it. It's something I take even from that too, that how like as a church, you know, evangelism primarily then was done, you know, was outside the church, and so Paul went looking for these people, and then lo and behold, a few years later there's a church, you know, and that helps to remind me too that we always need to be looking out too. And these were, obviously, as we said, these were people that didn't have a synagogue, they didn't have anywhere, but Paul just went and found them, and so that's encouraging to me. And one other thing, I think it was Begg possibly said this as well, that when you take the Lydia, the possessed woman, and the demon possessed, and the Philippian jailer, they're all very different people, but then they were all part of one family and one thing. And I think it was Begg just talked about how every church should be like that. There should be there should be people from all parts of society, and I think, you know, like that's something we should be, as churches, we should be looking to do, not just reach, you know, common people, like the gospel's for everybody, and the church should represent a broad spectrum of people too. That's me.
What about you, Dave?
Well, just from where we started off at the start in Acts 16, and where we were talking about how Paul sought them out. You know, when he went and he sought them, he thought they'd be there, and they were there, and he spoke with them. And we'll talk later on, next time, about the conversion of Lydia. And then we were talking about you know, that first paragraph in Philippians, and we use the pouring out of joy and love Paul has, and it's just quite to me, it's like the attributes of Christ. Like Jesus is seeking everybody out, and he seeks you out, and he talks to you, he hits a chord with you, and he wants you to put your trust in him. And then it just, like, you know, you can think of the way Paul is talking about these people. Well, that's how Jesus feels for you. All the love he's just pouring out. He wants the best for you, and the affection, and I hold you in my heart. Well, Jesus holds you in his heart. He went to the cross for you. He died for you. He gives the ultimate sacrifice, and so just knowing that, like as we were reading through, how Jesus seeks you out with a purposeful love to find you, and he does, and he will, and if you open up to him, as it says, can't remember who read it, but the Lord opened her heart. You know, if you come to Jesus with an open heart, he'll come inside, and he'll cover you in his blood, and give you the grace what we don't deserve, and the salvation. So, you know, so.
No, that's
Super.
true. Yeah.
So hopefully next time you'll come join us for next. We're just having a conversation about Bible. We're so happy that you can join us just around the fire, and you know we're not trying to put this on. We're just being ourselves.
We quite literally winged this, that's very honest.
Like, you know, if you see us come on with like the super fades and all the trendy beards and super cool clothes, you know,
You'll know we've got big.
you know we're putting it on, but really just if you've
And
enjoyed
if
it,
we're drinking Black Rifle coffee, we're doing something right.
we're getting paid. So we're getting paid endorsements, but that's not our aim. Our aim is
definitely not.
our aim is just to enjoy the Bible with you, just share even with each other, and kind of just record our sessions just about chatting about the Bible. But thanks for joining us. We don't want you just to enjoy the session, but we also want to equip you, let you know about some things that we found that are useful. So we're going to do hopefully just like a check out section, just a couple of minutes just to highlight maybe somebody, a good author, a couple of books, maybe some different products that we've come across that are really good, that they're Christian based, and are doing good work. And I'm just picking one straight off the bookshelf, but he appears in my Facebook feed all the time as Robert J. Morgan. So that's the Red Sea Rules, and that's the Promise, which are two fantastic books. He's on Facebook. I'll have a link up there for him, and he's really good. He does like a 59-second sermon. He's going through Proverbs at the moment. He's got really some good stuff, and it's all sound teaching fueled with love, and he's a fantastic teacher, and I've really enjoyed him. But next time it'll be something different. Simon, he'll know what that is whenever he brings it with him to fuel us for our next Bible study. But just so that you're better prepared, if you want to have a wee read for the next section on Philippians, and we're all good at doing the advanced reading, aren't we? So we'll probably just go from verse 12. We'll aim to get to the end of the chapter, which should be fun. And we'll probably as well maybe flick back onto Acts 16 and maybe go through the Philippian jailer and kind of run through those two events simultaneously. We don't want it to be a history lesson of just the place, but we did think it was important to set the scene for it, and again we'll come across the topics as they write. But again, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.